morning. It's nice to see you here. And it's good that poetry survived the pandemics. Yes, the Poetry Society. So yeah, poets are tough. They write poems. They resist.
Are you ready for a Croatian-Maltese medley?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
We're going to recite in English, but you're going to hear both languages. But before we go to the Mediterranean, we're going to go to Lisbon first.
I will just read the two lines in Croatian so you hear the language, since I came from far. So. Te noći, nakon dugo vremena, otvorila je knjigu Luzitanaca i ispod korica, od crvene kože, našla stare papiriće, svoje majke i svoje bilješke iz škole. Covent Garden. That night, after a long time, she opened the book of the Louisians. Under the letter covers, she found some of her mother's old papers and her own school notes. My handwriting was different then, she said, reading the lyrics of Camões written on the high cliffs of Cabo da Roca, where earth stops and the ocean begins. She looked at the invisible line of the horizon where the open sea joins the open sky, as if to capture the moment of childhood, where everything was different. Her handwriting too, and Lisbon was the island of brisk mornings and long afternoons in Estrella Park, the carefree sounds of time.
Generally, I write in Maltese, except when I write travel poetry, because in travel poetry I need more than one language. And so I prefer to use English or telegraphic English as a kind of backbone, right? And so these are travel poems about a Croatian island called Vir and Zagreb. First of all, this is, you might recognize the shape of Croatia. Some people compare it to a dragon. This might be cliche in Croatia, I don't know, but. And this is the shape of the island of Vir, which is near Zadar. And I'm going to keep it here, but east upwards. So, Otok Vir time 1. A speck of white sand clinging to the spiny thorax of the gargoyle dragon that leans from the Dinaric Alps. Otok Vir, shaped for 9 months a year like a humpback dolphin, leaping amid the outcrops, playing hide and seek with the cormorants. Come June, the dolphin swims off, and Vir quickly morphs into a hump but non-touring tourist reclining at the beach, blubber sinking into the pebbles. 2. 79, 718, 1246. How many islands, Otoks, Ototsi? There's no correct answer. The number varies with the weather or with each incoming and outgoing wave. If I stand alone on an outcrop, are we one island, two, or none?
So, Mara, can you give me the green books? Of course, I'm a poet of stature, I have an assistant.
This is his daughter as well.
It's easier for me to read with the bigger letters. I just bought the glasses here in Tokmak. So I'm returning, yes, to the Croatian mood. but we also have some friends from the Eastern Europe, and so I think they will catch up. Tito Apocrypha. Tito gnaws a pig head in the attic, eyeing the street in fear that his parents might catch him. I don't give a damn, he thinks. I'll escape on my bicycle. Tito riding a tram in Vienna undercover, wearing his best grey suit, thinking, why should I be any worse than those students? Tito riding over Mount Romania, followed by old Nazar stumbling through the snow. Vladimir, thinks Tito benevolently. Tito waving at the roads of kids from his Mercedes. Red bandanas are tied around their necks like snoozes. The sun will once grow dark, ponders Tito philosophically.
I need a little help here, Tomica.
Yes.
This is a Croatian letter. How do you pronounce this?
J.
J. J.
Yeah.
Right. I thought it was more liquid, like more G. But
J.
it's easier. Okay. It's easier for me because it's J, the G with the dot. Okay.
Yeah, I don't really know. It's like we have like you've been to Zagreb, and then you have like St. George and the Dragon. So we say it like Juraj, and then I think maybe J or Juro, which has the name that you see on the streets. Or
it's
something.
like a shorter version.
Yes, it could be like a shorter version, but J is a very common letter in Croatia.
So there it is. J. J. A D pierced by a crossbar or diet. My new favorite letter. The sound of a wave lapping the rock and landing on itself. Did you hear it? A letter jumping with joy. A letter that tastes like gingerbread, or like the Tchaikovsky version of Juvej rice, or like grapes, grozdje, bursting in the mouth. A sudden explosion of sound, at once liquid and solid, like the J in Rodzenie,
The birth, yes, Rojenia.
Rodzenie, the word for birth. Capital J, written like the blade of a shovel in gravel. Southern workers shifting, shaking, shaping, chalk, gypsum, jams, hinges, and whatever all this noise is jangling the seed inside me, as they rush to finish properties for northern visitors to their summer break playground. Such is the sound of spring in these latitudes. Such is the price of azure for its own inhabitants. Such is the Mediterranean island condition serving to survive. J. The underside of a tongue, a bow and half arrow, a flagless pole planted on the equator of the waxing gibbous moon. What would that sound like on the dry lunar soil? Is a voiced alveolo-palatal affricate possible without moisture? I'll never know.
Tito is elegant even in death. Here are the mourners listed alphabetically. Bears, rhinos, lions, chess players, cineasts, circus acrobats, clerks, corn seller at workstation number 7, Cuban cigar industry, employees of the Institute for the History of the Working Class Movement, the English Queen, Greenpeace activists, heads of the tenants' councils, historic figures, hippies, honor students, Ilich Ramirez Sanchez, also known as Carlos, men with mustaches, officers from the Firemen's Club, opera singers, presidents of fishermen's societies, pretty women, primary school teachers, punks, reserve policemen, retired warrant officers, Sai Baba soccer players, tailors.
to the mainland now. Zagreb time. Zagreb time.
Good luck.
So, ambling atop the left wing of the gargoyle dragon, this amoeba with legs. Digging for the origin of the city's name, I find it means to scoop water from a well. Zagreb sounds a little like the Maltese verb zagrag, to spin like a top. For instance, is zagrag is of zafatul sava. The willow spins along the Sava. 2. No sign of any j in the urban wild, upper or lower case, not on any walls, street stickers, tram stops. I struggle to find any even on the map. And what happened to all the Antifa stickers and graffiti from 10 years ago? This is something of a disappointment.
Tito showed up again in a balloon above Eastern Africa, pointing his binoculars at a herd of zebras. Those devils with stripes, thinks Tito to himself. They are all the same. Tito says no to Stalin, and Stalin responds, I don't care anymore. Who gives a fuck? Do you know how to calculate? I have 21,856 of them ground into the leaves of the cotton forest. I have 300,000 secretly buried ones. I have 10 million of those liquidated in liquidations. I have all of their IDs, the photographs of their children, the letters filled with unwarranted optimism, their pencils, small change. I've got them all neatly placed on fire.
A vintage globe in the window. I feel I could run my fingers along the meridians, pluck them like the strings of a harp, play around with chords, see which longitudes, landscapes and languages resonate. How would Zagreb sound if plucked together with Fremantle and Tierra del Fuego, consonant or tritone? Such an experiment would perhaps be the closest I ever get to touching or caressing the migration of time. Late afternoon at Capitol Square, or Oval. The only shade available is below the Virgin Mary column directly opposite the cathedral. I sit, rest my rucksack, drink a multi-vowel juice, traded for a little less than a gold map of Hrvatska. So many islands for a single quench of thirst. Both cathedral spires, surrounded by scaffolding, 2 rockets, 2 chances at driving a pole into the equator of the waxing gibbous moon. What would that sound like? My lighter is ready, the moon is not. At what time will the moon have grown into a juicy D? The rusty clock on the wall shows 7:03. How can that be? 7:03. A few nudges of my shadow later, and still 7:03. The multi-vowel juice kicks in, and now I recall. 7:03, the exact time when the cathedral clock came to a stop in the great earthquake of 9th November 1880. 7:03. Is Seba Utlieta. Is Zagreb Figrismene Zernig. Le septetre, Zagabrias is squatis is conquatsa, the skin of Zagreb scrubbed and scraped and scarred. Forget the moon experiment. Whatever time it may be on its tidal locked equator, let the D remain without a diet.
So just return to recent times a little bit with fathers and sons. For the first time in my life, I hold in my hand the banknote of 1,000 kunas with a portrait of Ante Starčević, called the father of our homeland Croatia. I am clinging to it just for a little while before I enter the bank to pay the bills. You are just like I imagined you to be, father. Your bird, strict with wisdom, eyes deep, inquisitive. But you don't seem to be looking at your son with joy. Surprised you are, but not happy at all. It is me as I am, father. Your son has grown old, waiting in line to meet you.